everyone, welcome back to GameSpot. I'm pretty excited. We are going to be playing Full Throttle Remastered today from Double Fine Productions. I am here with a man who needs no introduction, Tim Schafer himself.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I don't get an introduction? Oh man, what a rip.
Oh, well, I'll give you a second one if you want more formal.
Like something about my, no. That was great. That was really
the
good
Grand Emperor himself. And then, of course, we have Greg Rice, also from Double Fine. He is here off camera playing Full Throttle Remastered today.
Professional game player.
I'm pretty...
One of the top-ranked national Full Throttle Remastered players in the world right now.
I'm pretty awful at playing and hosting at the same time. So luckily we have someone else to do that while we will pull up gameplay, talk about it, kind of talk about this. Release is on April 18th for PS4, Vita, and PC.
Yep.
The
Vita. See? Who loves Vita more than us?
Yeah. That'll be a 1995 game, if I'm correct. And I think... correct me if I'm wrong.
Where were you in 1995?
I was 4. I don't know what I was doing when I was 4.
I was
Getting ready
4
for
too.
kindergarten?
It was amazing leading a project for the first time as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, I was just
really tough for me. I've just recently been potty trained.
I was just going to mention, so this is the first title you led up. So I think this was after Secret of Monkey Island.
Day of Tentacle.
Day of Tentacle, right.
Before Grand Fandango. So I was a baby in some ways, in that it was my first time. And I really liked movies like Yojimbo and the Road Warrior and The Wild Ones, the old Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
And this game was inspired by all those. But also a friend of mine who was hanging out all summer with some bikers and was talking about them hanging out in the biker bar and doing donuts in the parking lot and going off the Sturgis. And I was like, these guys sound like pirates. Like we made a pirate game. I was like, these are kind of like new pirates.
Yeah. And this is what, 2040 takes place in?
Did we say that? That might have been, I never officially named it.
Oh,
it's
no?
like another world. A lot of people think it's post-apocalyptic, but it's really just like another world full of things we think are cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so for those who didn't play this back in the day or throughout the years and kind of
4 years old back then.
Or were 4 years old back then, what kind of game are we looking at here?
This is a point-and-click graphic adventure, which we did a lot. Like for 10 years when I was at Lucas in the 90s, we made, I worked on Monkey Island, Secret of Monkey Island 1 and 2, Day of the Tentacle, and they were games about story and puzzles where you would walk around exploring and meeting characters and occasionally solving puzzles, and they had a lot of cutscenes and narrative, and this one we really were pushing that like storytelling with like cinematic scenes like this one, where the intro is meant to really get you in the mood for playing the game.
Yeah, and speaking of Day of the Tentacle and remasters, right? This is what number of remasters is that Double Fine has kind of brought into the?
This is our third.
Okay.
You can see him switching back. Greg's like switching back live.
Oh,
see,
nice.
That's the all new remastered art, and that's what it used to look like. You
Cool.
can see we had to paint like 15,000 frames of animation in this game, and so they actually had to add for HD a bunch on the sides.
I really like when remasters do that, so you can actually fully appreciate how much better it looks, and without the rose-tinted glasses of thinking maybe in '95 it looked better than I remember, but it just shows you how much better it looks.
I feel like it's a trust thing with the players, because I feel like when I played the special editions that LucasArts did before, and I was like, oh, I hope they don't mess up Monkey Island. And when I went to play it, I was like, I'm going to play the original mode, and I started playing it that way, and it was exactly, the pixel by pixel looked just like how I played it, and then after a few minutes I was like, but I'm going to turn on the new art just because the jaggies had cut my eyes.
Yeah.
They hurt to watch. So it's beautiful now, it's painted up, but it still, I think, looks, in some ways, just like the original in that it looks just like what your mind remembers, how you remember, well, not you, but like how one, who was
a normal
14,
normal age person.
Your 10-year-older brother.
Yeah.
Might have, because you don't remember things looking bad. And so we left that mode in, you can see like, I mean, some people might prefer it.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have it, right? It's nice to have the new stuff, I think.
What about, is voice acting, is it the original, or did you work with people? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the voice actors have passed away since then. Conrad, who plays Ben Throttle, and Hamilton Camp. They had passed away, but we went and found the original unedited, the DAT tapes that they recorded on.
Nice.
And re-edited them so that we could have the uncompressed voice. Because back then we were trying to fit on a CD-ROM, or even before, like on a floppy disk, you compress it, and people's like their S's and certain sounds sound really like weird. If you ever hear like old games, that weird hissing sound when people talk.
Okay.
So we uncompress all that, so they sound. You can hear the richness of Roy Conrad's voice when he does Ben's deep, growly voice. And similarly with the music, we've got the old Keith Karloff from the Gone Jackals. We got his reel-to-reel tapes of the music, and
awesome.
And copied that, remixed it, and put it in stereo, and it all sounds amazing. But you can hear the old stuff too if you click back and forth. You can hear the old stuff. which was actually louder in some spots because the only way they could make it sound like rock and roll is like crank it to hurt your little speakers, your tiny little speakers that you'd have next to your computer in 1995.
Hey, man.
So I was full throttle the next one you wanted to remaster after you did, like Grim Fandango and Day of the Tentacle.
I mean, we were kind of building up to it. This had the most frames of animation in it. Like, Grim used 3D, so it had some movies, but we weren't changing those movies because they were rendered really high res. This one had older movies that needed to be painted like frame by frame. You can see all that, all that work to do that, but. We knew it would be just the most time-consuming, most expensive one, so we're kind of building up to it, and it was a big one, but they did a really great job with it, I think.
Sure. It's like stylistically.
Nice.
Possibly be taking so long.
It's relaxing. It's relaxing.
Yeah. Just washes over the screen.
It looks like you're playing like Rock Band and missing a note, and it just goes into the bad mode, and then it comes back.
You get back on track, and the audience is better.
Yeah, we didn't want to change any of the voices because we see it as like respecting the old work, but just presenting it better.
Sure.
But this kind of game is fun to do these remasters because a lot of people hadn't played a point-and-click adventure.
Right.
And I think we went through this whole thing where that was the only way we could think to do certain interactions back then. Like in the early '90s, point-and-click adventures were the only ways. They were the games that had the most story and the most like fidelity. Like they had the most pretty art and music and stuff. And games kind of caught up with them eventually, so you can play a lot of games that have that stuff now. But now that we have a whole bunch of different ways to tell story and stuff, I think people have gone back to look at kind of enjoying graphic adventures for what they were, which is a way of like interacting with a story and solving puzzles that moves at your own pace. Like you don't usually have to worry about getting shot in the head. You can kind of scratch your head and just kind of wander around and think about stuff and take a break from it and come back and solve puzzles. And it's a kind of zen-like narrative experience.
Sure, yeah. I mean, over the years, Double Fine has done a lot of different genres, right? But I mean, between like Brutal Legend, Costume Quest, Broken Age. But do you see any like roots of future games in Full Throttle, or is it kind of just like you can kind of always see that Double Fine signature style?
Well, I mean, there's got common threads that have been things that have interested me a lot, like hot rods. I've always there's always some sort of hot rod in a game that make like even Grim Fandango has the bone wagon, And this, I really loved Road Warrior, I remember, before I made this, and I still like that movie, and just the low camera angles, or the original Mad Max, just like, falling like right on the fender, and just those kind of crazy, I was walking in Potrero Hill in San Francisco once, and there's a Hell's Angels nest, or there was back then in Dogpatch. And this guy came down around the street, didn't have a helmet on, he just was wearing like a flannel shirt, was flapping, and he went to the end of this cul-de-sac and then went up on the curb and went over a pedestrian walkway over the freeway, doing a wheelie, like right in front of me, and he never stopped. He was like, and I was like, I feel like that guy lives in a different world, like a different set of society or rules than me. That he doesn't care. He doesn't care about my rules or my sidewalk or my pedestrian.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I kind of romanticized it a lot. Like the management at LucasArts was like, we can't make a game about bikers because it's gonna be like about murder and drugs and all that stuff.
Sure.
But this is a little more romanticized version of bikers, more like Wild One, Marlon Brando era.
Less like Hunter S. Thompson kind of stuff.
I did read that book.
Yeah, it was good.
And I read it, and like every chapter, I was like, we can't do that. We can't do that. Nope.
Looking for inspiration, and then you shut it quickly.
That's a great book.
Yeah.
Generous offer after all.
Physical box. People in the chat asking for physical box. Rights are tricky with these old games.
Yeah.
Well then, let's roll 'em, boys.
Yeah, I mean, people were asking and stuff. I got a few questions on through Twitter earlier that we can, reference later on during like a Q&A and whatnot. But I mean, it's interesting to look at Brutal Legend stylistically, right? Was that influenced by this a lot?
It was a similar interest in like obviously heavy metal music and pipes. Like when in doubt, add more pipes to the vehicle. Like Ben's bike has these pipes, and all the Druid plow has a bunch of pipes on it. And I just, growing up, my older brothers, you often think they're super cool, right? And they liked hot rod cars from in the 60s. There was a lot of Big Daddy Roth art, or custom car culture was really big. And ever heard of Rat Fink? Or these drawings were like, they'd be like a 57 Chevy drawn with just doing a wheelie, and it's curved, and the back wheel's really big, and there's a demon driving it with an eight-ball shifter and his tongue hanging out. And that makes an impact on you when you're young about like something happens to you, I think, when you're like 8 or something, where like you just impact on what is cool and what is not. I think that always made a big, strong impression on me.
Yeah.
And so I can't help but like hot rods. And this had the most heavy metal soundtrack that I'd ever heard in a game up to this point. You know, the Gone Jackals.
Definitely.
Fixed your door.
We tried to license, like, we didn't know what we were going to do with the music because it felt like our MIDI thing might not cut it. But and we hadn't done a lot of digital music, but we went and had a meeting with the record company that had Soundgarden.
Oh, okay.
We were trying to get Soundgarden in the 90s. And,
Yeah.
they had a song called Kickstand, and this
Right.
bar is called the Kickstand. And so,
Gotcha.
but that didn't go that well when they found out what our budget was, which was nothing. Zero.
Yeah, I mean, this was
The monitor doesn't.
This was earlier, right? You said 1995. So then, what was the one to come out after this that you worked on?
Grim Fandango.
Grim Fandango. Okay.
So after this one,
Customers.
there was someone like, why don't you do a sequel? And I was like, oh, I got this Day of the Dead thing. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
And you know, and people were starting to talk about 3D, which was really fancy back then.
Yeah.
So like some of the bikes, you notice that because we had vehicles and they were going to rotate, and instead of painting all those frames by hand, they would like, let's make them in 3 dimensions and rotate them around. So that was very exciting. But we still just modeled them all, rendered them, and then painted every single frame. So it wasn't like really 3D, like CG in this game at all. And then Grim was true 3D for the characters
Sure.
animated on screen.
I want to know who nothing.
So when you said you kind of were walking that tightrope, right, between preserving the past work but also updating it enough for modern palettes. What else beside the visuals did you work on, if anything, like on the
the
surface
remaster?
level? Yeah, for the remaster.
So like tell you about the remixing, remastering the audio, both the music and the sound effects, and the digital music and the stuff that uses samples has better samples now. And then the visuals. We went up to Skywalker Ranch where they still have the archive of all of the actual painted. Like we were still doing stuff on paper and scanning it back then. So we found all the flat files that had all the art. So we scanned it, and you can see it's in the concept art bureau.
Oh, awesome!
You can see how close it was to that one didn't even make it in the game, but there's the original kickstand, and you can see all Peter Chan art, and then a lot of studies of. You can kind of see the story of how we designed Ben. Went through a lot of different iterations of what Ben should look like.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see all the really rough sketches of
awesome.
Larry Ahrens and the different styles it had.
So this is all the LucasArts stuff is up at Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah, it's in this like humidity-controlled warehouse next to the dailies from Empire Strikes Back and stuff. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's nice that they really, being part of the Lucas world, they really care about preservation and like film preservation and game preservation.
Yeah, between Ben and Guybrush and everyone.
Yeah. And so we added that, and then also you can see on the bonus features here, there's a jukebox, listen to music, there's concept art, and there's also audio commentary. We had kind of a little mini reunion of the team, brought back people I hadn't seen in years.
Yeah.
And we sat in a room, we watched the game, we talked and told stories, and they remembered things about the game I don't remember at all. But it was great that we could share all that, because I think that, when you want to play an old game from the 90s for whatever reason, there are fans have done an amazing job keeping that stuff alive.
Yeah.
And they make this, like, the Scum VM is one of the engines that players came up with themselves so they could run old games on new computers. And they do a ton of stuff that we really appreciate and have integrated sometimes into our remasters. But the thing they can't do is to provide the kind of the context of when that game was made, what the context was around it, who the people were, what they wanted to do. Seeing that concept art, you can kind of see what they wanted to make the game look like on a different level. And also the commentaries, like we can explain like what we were thinking then. So it feels like a great time to do this because we can still, a lot of those people are still alive, but not going to be alive forever.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully we'll be alive for a little bit longer.
A little bit.
But but when we were ripping stuff off the reel-to-reel tapes and stuff, I felt like this is the last time that tape was going to work. This thing is crumbling to dust as we digitize it. So it was kind of like a last chance to like grab some of those assets.
Sure.
And you can see some of the commentary going on right now. Talking about puzzles that we cut and stuff like that. The stories
awesome.
that can be told now that years have passed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And statute of limitations has passed on some of the events.
Right. Yeah, because how much of that, I mean, so the first one to remaster before Grim Fandango it was Grim Fandango, then Day of the Tentacle, and then now this, right?
Wait, what?
The ones you remastered from
We did Grim and then we did Day of the Tentacle and now we did this.
Right, okay.
I'm indestructible.
Yeah, I was kind of curious what that's like with rights from LucasArts stuff.
Well, I mean, it's complicated. There's big companies involved, and what helped a lot was that there were just people at both companies who were fans of the genre. You know, they had this mantra. They kept saying like, we want to do the right things by the fans and the players, which is to bring these things back. And and you know, big companies can be tricky, but if you have, they're still made up of individuals, and if you find that passionate like game player in a company, you can make great things happen.
Yeah.
Someone's ambushing the pole gas.
Now they're talking about Sierra games in chat. We played Sierra. You know Sierra?
Yeah.
We played them in softball. They came to
Oh,
Skywalker
nice.
Ranch, and we had a softball match with them, and they totally kicked our ass. And then in their like newsletter they sent to their fans, they just had a picture of their team, and it said Sierra beats competitor in softball match. I couldn't even mention our names.
Yeah, it's interesting to see between the interest in the remasters and, you know, stuff like the Sierra releasing stuff recently. It's kind of interesting to see that people are kind of back into this genre lately. And then you have, you know, like what am I thinking of? Thimbleweed Park.
Yeah, from Park from Ron Gilbert.
Right.
He just released that.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of capturing the look of Maniac Mansion, the verbs and everything.
Right.
So I mean, it's nice the way things have changed in the world with digital distribution and crowdfunding and all these different things. What it means is that you used to have to be really, really big to get out there. You used to have to be guaranteed hit. But now if you just have an audience that you can reach, and crowdfunding helps you reach that audience, organize the money to fund the thing you're making, and then digital distribution lets you meet, social media lets you like get a hold of those people. So things like adventure games that were never going to be as big as first-person shooters or some other genre can still exist. They don't have to go away because they have their audience. They have their dedicated audience who always want to play them, and so they're possible now. And people are revisiting them, and it doesn't have to be like one genre or two genres that take over, and that's all the games industry makes anymore. People can have their you might call them niche audiences.
Right. Yeah, because these stuff like immersive sims are coming back too with stuff that Arcane's doing, and you know, like System Shock 3 and System Shock Remaster and all those kind of things, and even like what Fulbright Company's doing with their kind of like almost like 3D take on adventure games in a way. That those narrative simulators, seems like, you know, with so many different audiences, so many ways to reach those audiences, so many different kinds of games are being, you know, created and of great quality too, and it's really awesome to see.
We're talking now about how we are doing those full screen animations just to save time, because like sometimes if you have a wide shot of a character walking on the screen and getting on a bike and riding out, that's like a million frames of animation. But if you cut to like his boots on the ground, and then you cut to his bike tilting a little bit, and then you cut to the eyes, he puts on his goggles, and then you can like do a few cuts that like save a ton of animation, but it also seems a little bit cooler.
That's always fascinating to hear how games like a style developed because of technical limitations. Like Resident Evil is the one that pops out in my head, right? The fixed camera became a thing that they did, and then even like earlier Tony Hawk games to like look like they were actually moving through a 3D environment, but not really. That's always fascinating to me.
Well, the first Tony Hawk wasn't 3D. I'm trying to remember.
Well, maybe I'm
it
thinking.
wasn't.
I just sworn it was like the background was actually. I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing.
You know, it
something
could have
else.
been. And yeah, there's games that inspired us a lot were Out of This World. If you played Out of This World, or Another World in Europe, I think it's called.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's a game that uses a really lo-fi poly look for the intro cutscene had this it looked lo-fi in a way, but it had this like Luc Besson style like cinema story. It was really well storyboarded. So the scene of a guy going through an elevator is just like a slit in the middle of the screen with a light moving up it, and you're like, oh, he's on an elevator. And that just was really inspiring that you don't have to like show a detailed animation all the time. You can just have a nice cut. It helps you save a lot of animation. It also looks really super French.
Double Fine New Wave Cinema.
Yeah, exactly. Full Throttle, super French.
Never mind.
It's the most French game that's going to be out this year.
Whatever blows your hair back. Let me know if you need any aspirin or anything.
It's Maureen from She Fixes Your Bike. That's the pop-up cursor. It was a big change for this game because we used to have the verbs, and like you have to look down and look up and look down and look up. I wish the verbs were right where your cursor is.
Oh, right.
So we had a pop-up cursor, and we were just trying to remove the obstacles to playing a game, because other games. Later on, when I was doing Grim, things like Mario 64 had come out, and you could just push in the direction you wanted to go. Like, it's hard to remember that was such an innovative idea. Like, I could just take the joystick, because Resident Evil, because of the different camera cuts, like they didn't. I think that was tank controls. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So you just go left, right, and then go forward.
It would be confusing as hell. I mean, I remember the first God of War felt like the first game that really figured out how to like maintain that direction when it did switch cameras, even though it was like fully 3D controls
similar
or
to
Devil
Metal
May
Gear,
Cry
I
or
think it would
something.
like as you jump to the camera angle, it would maintain your orientation unless you let go of the stick. And
Yep. Or like if you're climbing up a
hours and
ladder or
hours of
something.
conversation about those kind of control issues. You know,
Yeah.
you don't maybe you notice them when you're playing unless they are dumb and don't work.
Yeah.
But after Mario 64, just like you push in the direction you want to go. That's it. That's all that happens. We were like, we should try and make adventure games more. Or just easy to move, because that's not the interesting thing. Figuring out how to walk from one room to another is not the interesting part. The interesting part is like, what item do I use on what item, when? How do I solve this puzzle? Oh, you didn't see that car hiding down there, did you, Ben? See, like the town is sinking. Narrative storytelling and environmental storytelling right there.
The precursor.
Chan. You see someone in the chat feels old. Trust me, I'm older.
Yeah, for those just joining, we do have the YouTube, Twitch, and GameSpot chats up right next to our feed. So get into a Q&A when we're done kind of showing a little more of the game, but feel free to shoot questions our way right now.
Here's another great Mark Hamill piece. He did 3 parts in the game. Mark Hamill, because he had already become the Joker on the animated series back in '94 or '5. And we got him to do, maybe through our Lucas connections, got him to do 3 parts. He does Emmett the truck driver, Todd the junkyard sculptor, and also, obviously, Adrian Ripper, the arch villain.
Was that something like was he into games right away and then approached LucasArts about doing that stuff, or was it vice versa? Like,
We went after him. We went after him because we were talking about what voice would be perfect for Ripper, you know, and how, we wanted this really guy just dripping with evil.
Yeah.
And Mark's got a really evil voice.
Yeah.
Doesn't come through in Star Wars that much, but he's super evil.
That was the most alluring aspect at first for Arkham Asylum, knowing he was reprising his Joker role for those games. That was great.
He's super nice to work with, too. See, we didn't show the animation, he's getting knocked back. False sound effects.
Right.
This view defines true beauty.
I don't remember the joke with that line. View defines true beauty. I feel like that was a reference to a... You would know. What was going on there? What were we referencing? That's the one thing, though, we'll always be lost. Oh, the secret door. Spoilers.
Nice.
Don't watch too much of this, you guys.
Oh yeah, Sebastian Schulz in the YouTube chat was just asking what the rough estimation for the PS Vita release. That would be same day, April 18th,
April 18th.
as PS4 and PC.
Yep. It's actually a great way to play it on the Vita because you can use the stick. All of our adventure games on the Vita, you can right cycle and left cycle through all the inventory on your cursor, and you can use the sticks if you want. You can use the right stick to hop between hot objects, but also you can just touch the screen and really like point and click adventure it and be around. You're just like there.
Definitely.
And so it's one of the, being a combination machine of touchscreen and stick. It's a really fun way to play it.
Chrono Travis in the Twitch chat was just asking you if you have a personal LucasArts adventure game.
How am I going to pick that? I'll just
Like picking your
selling
favorite.
this one. This one. This is the one
throttle.
you should pre-order right now on the PlayStation Store and Steam.
They're trying to pick like a favorite child
I mean,
or
this is the
sibling.
one. They're all so different. The first one, Monkey Island, that I worked on, it's like really hard to like the memories of that. I mean, we made that at Skywalker Ranch, so it's all tied to my like personal memories of it. Day of the Tentacle was one of the I refer to as the last like easy time we had making a game because we didn't have 3D art, you didn't have voice acting, we didn't have to worry about. It was a very manageable game. Game just ramped up in complexity after around '95, and it just never stopped going. Super complex, huge teams.
Probably kind of an intimidating thing to take on as your first leading your first project, right? I mean, between voice acting, between kind of, like you just said, 95 is when a lot of things were ramping up. It must have been kind of hectic.
It got pretty hectic. It kind of eased into it. It was mostly just like had an idea of like how this should work and wanted to tell a story a certain way, a certain feeling to it.
Sure.
There are a lot of. I remember some of the influences. There's besides Out of This World, there's also Anne Flux was a part of the MTV animation series. Like the idea of doing stylized art but having it not be for little kids, like adult stylized art. Like also Mike Mignola's Hellboy, I think was the influence on like a lot of the dark silhouette shapes you see in a lot of places.
Sorry, boss. I got excited.
But I really like. This is the game where we're trying to push it as a the puzzles being, we were like, we've done a lot of games where the puzzles are just like, let's fill your inventory with 100 objects, and you have to find out which objects to use for which objects. And we're like, let's only have like 6 things max in your inventory,
Sure.
and you have to figure out, what the context of when to use those objects. So it's simplified. Like this puzzle here, there's really everything you need is almost on the screen. You have this gate and this chain, and you got to figure out how to work it so that you can get into the junkyard. I like this animation. Wait, use your foot on it. Use your foot on it. Little known, yeah. That's my favorite animation of the game. Probably no one finds that one.
Just wiggling his boot.
Yeah, him wiggling his boot in a biker fashion. It's very common. Biker trick.
That was in the Hunter S. Thompson book.
Yeah, foot wiggles,
Yeah.
toe points,
Notorious for it.
ballerina kicks. Like in this junky old town, they still paint the curb red there because like, don't park too close to it. We got to get the trucks in the junkyard, even though the whole town's sunk into the mud.
That's great.
Yeah.
For those just joining, Greg, would you be able to switch back to the old style really quick? So yeah, it's like for those just joining, like we had mentioned earlier in the stream, you can
squint. You
squint. Looks all right. You can switch between these on the fly. If you want a more nostalgic look, you can stick with that. But yeah, or you can just update it.
I'm really torn because like the old one for me, like it brings back these memories of like you remember the first time you played it or whatever, working on it. Every pixel has this weird memory to it of like because you stare at him so much. Like his face is made up of such a small amount of pixels. And Maureen's face, look at her eyes are like 3 pixels, her mouth is 2. And then when you go back to the high res one, it's like, oh yeah, that's how they look in my head.
Looks more of like a 5 o'clock shadow on his face rather than just a gray bottom half of the face.
Where am I going to find new forks?
Well, they don't have to be new, just not.
I love the universal knee pad design.
Larry Hanger just felt knee pads were important to biker culture.
Probably was.
You don't want to
Screw those
have
things
your patellas exposed when you're rolling down the asphalt.
I don't have any.
Do you ride a motorcycle?
I did in college. I had a little Honda that I would ride to class on, but I never had a really big, I never had a bent throttle bike.
Gotcha.
Did you?
No.
No.
I was considering getting my motorcycle license like last year, but I put it off.
But my brother, like I said, my brothers had them and they imprinted as cool.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's cool.
Tons of pipes protruding out of it.
This is authorized quality service.
I like to be surrounded by metal in a car, often when going down the street.
But I don't have the official paperwork.
An illegitimate Corley operation.
That's
I prefer
foreshadowing.
to think of it as a renegade
Trust me.
operation.
You live in this town?
Well, Melonweed's not much of a
Original
town.
game,
What's left of it is
I-
thinking about a foot.
there were these 2 roommates who lived down the hall from me in college named Maureen and Tina. And so I had the original stories about these twins named Maureen and Tina who were, there was going to be like a twin swapping story, Prince and Pauper story going on with them. And then we got to cut some characters. Let's cut Tina. So we cut Tina. Sorry, Tina. Only Maureen lasted.
Damn. Were tensions high on the... Or no, that was probably afterward, but did she ever contact you saying, why the hell did you cut me?
No. The girls of my college dorm have not kept up with my Facebook page, sadly.
Oddly enough. In a bizarre twist.
You're a meat farmer?
That place went belly up long before he died. But I still go back there whenever I need to get away for a
They read in the chat.
Yeah. YouTube, yeah. Yakov Verch, if I'm probably butchering that, he's asking if there's a chance for Maniac Mansion remake or AC remake.
I mean, there's always a chance of 2 things happen for any of these games. Is like if the original creator wants to be involved, like if Ron Gilbert wanted to be involved with that, we would be into doing it. Or if Hal Barr would want to be involved in indie, or Steve Purcell for Sam Max. As long as the original creator thought it was a cool idea to do a remaster and wanted to, do the commentary. That's the only reason I think we should do it. But also, the rights are complicated, so we'd have to be able to get those rights too.
Yeah.
So I think it also would be a great idea. These we've done now that this is the last of the games that were had my name on them, but there is still a lot of other great adventure games.
Yeah, every subsequent game you worked on was, was every subsequent game you worked on from Double Fine?
After Grimm.
After Grimm, okay, right.
Yeah.
Then you started with Psychonauts. Went from there.
But I hope more people do remasters. Like I just think because some other people have brought back other people's games as like a third-party thing, just because they wanted them to be playable again.
Sure.
But I wish more original creators would remaster them so they can kind of keep them true to what they had originally intended, back then.
From a personal standpoint, it's probably cool to kind of go back to your roots a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's interesting to revisit something you made 20 years ago and think about what you do now and what you did then, and how you've changed. And definitely the writing. The writing, the dialogue is not a different style, but like it feels different to me because I was like in my 20s when I wrote some lines, and I wrote lines about topics that I didn't really even understand. And then after now I'm older, I'm like, oh yeah, you were so young. You're so young when you wrote that line.
Yeah, you look at something like Broken Age, and it's a very different tone, right? But I think that's indicative of where you were when you were working on it, right?
Yeah. Like here, I wrote all this before my years spent in a Louisiana prison, so I didn't know much about these guards, these Southern guards back then, but now I do know. That's a joke. I didn't never been in prison in Louisiana.
I was gonna let you clarify if it was a joke or not, but I think it would have been cool if it wasn't.
I don't know why they have Southern accents in this crazy world. They're the only people in the game that have this like, come back here.
That's your understanding of the South at the time?
Only the cops are Southern. It just felt like more Dukes of Hazzard that way, I guess.
I'd say that's where the gas goes.
There's one question about where we found the extra art for the HD. For that, it was mostly for cutscenes. Like every scene in the game. Wait, actually, go back to the old. Can you go back to the retro art? Maybe this one did. Yeah, I guess we did. Yeah, it was a lot more extra painting we had to do. We had the extra concept art, and Peter Chan would always paint extra, but it was more rough and less detailed, mostly for the color bleed and stuff. He would paint a little extra,
Okay.
And we had that original art, and then the artist actually also would use some creative license in doing that.
Cool. Yeah, there's people asking a lot of like
Trophies.
technical questions.
Yes, there'll be trophies.
Oh yeah.
I assume we get a
Got it.
platinum. Do you think we get a platinum? Yeah, we get a platinum.
Do you have any say in going back and deciding what those are?
Well, we write the achievements,
Yeah.
or the trophies.
Okay.
They set the rules about like how many points you get and stuff like that. How many,
Bronze, silver, gold.
Let's call it quits, huh, boss?
You gonna platinum this?
yeah. But I can get a list of all the trophies and how to beat them, so I have an
nice.
advantage. Don't think I don't do that.
Are you a trophy fiend? Achievement hunter?
No, but at certain games you just feel like I need to get them all in this game.
I kind of
Because it's
want to do
small,
that.
and I think I can.
Right. Well, the opposite of that, I kind of want to do with Persona 5, which is not
Is that
short.
possible?
I don't have the time, but I'll try.
Grab every single thing that you can everywhere and do things.
Every Persona?
Any crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you, Yakov Virch. Hope I said that right.
Yeah. Close.
Did you get any mail? You should be able to kick it down.
I don't want to hurt Mo's mailbox.
That's true. Well, I
He
don't know
knows
why
that boot
I should've
wagging
thought of
can
that.
screw up a mailbox.
That's my favorite line in the game. Because you hear it so much, I had to make it my favorite. And I put my lips on that. We should have had the game end with you kissing Maureen and saying, I'm going to put my lips on that. Doesn't happen that way, guys. I don't want to break it.
There's another foreshadow. Cool. I don't know. I mean, we can keep going unless you want to get right into a Q&A if you don't want to spoil too much in the game for people watching.
Yeah, I'd love to
Cool.
answer questions.
All right, cool. Yeah, we got a few compiled. Jean-Luc in the back room can pull some up. But yeah, everybody, if you're just joining, I'm here with Tim Schafer of Double Fine Productions, of course. We were just playing Full Throttle Remaster, which will release on PS4, PS Vita, and PC on April 18th. But we do have about another 15-ish minutes on the stream, and we did have a few questions via Twitter, but we also have the Twitch and YouTube and GameSpot chats up here next to the TV, and we can reference those. So if you have any questions about Full Throttle Remaster or other Double Fine stuff going on.
Motorcycle maintenance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only ones with a lot of pipes, though?
Yeah.
That's your expert.
If it's not running, add a pipe and just see what happens.
And if it doesn't work, just keep going.
Yeah, more pipes.
Cool. Yeah, so Jean-Luc, you want to pull up that first question that we gathered from Twitter. So here we go. From Tim Collins. What is your favorite puzzle in the game if you have one? This is like a three-part question. Can you recall? Do you have a favorite puzzle that you have?
Well, I really like that junkyard. I have fond memories of that junkyard gate puzzle just because it was this moment where like realizing we don't need to have a complicated inventory for the puzzle. We could just have it be maybe one inventory item, and you have to figure out some combination of that door. And so, anyway, just it was a birth of like a new way of looking at puzzle design for me, and so I like that puzzle.
Cool. Yeah, so that was Tim Collins on Twitter. Thank you for your
What was it
question.
like directing voice?
Yeah, John Luke, pull that back up. It was like 3 parts.
I would just say
Thanks.
Tamlin Neelio actually directed the voice acting, and the sound department also had Chris Brown in it, who we still work with today, doing our own voice. And but I did go down for one day and got to for Mark Hamill, got to work with Mark
nice.
Hamill, and he was obviously a breeze because Mark's a total pro and had been doing VO stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
So it was super fun.
Also, do you wish you had a more searchable name? Somebody tells me you might not have been worried about like SEO at the time.
Yeah. Well, back then there was no drink. There's no energy drink called Full Throttle.
Oh, I wasn't
And
even thinking
there
of that.
was
What was
that-
I thinking of? That's probably what he means.
And Charlie's Angels 2, Full
Yeah,
Throttle.
that was
right?
it.
And also there's another thing, no searching. There's no internet.
Yeah, no, so you were at the forefront.
I mean, 95, it was like, I think we would get feedback on this game from CompuServe.
Okay.
So I think that was the most of that we had to
So you
worry
were a
about.
Full Throttle pioneer.
Yeah, so
Energy
I'm just
drinks
waiting
came
for all
afterward.
those things to come out so that we can obviously just sue them all at once. Like Charlie's Angels, get them all in one big lawsuit.
Now you just have so many, lawsuits, sponsorships if you want, probably in settlements and whatnot. But
That's my retirement plan. Living
Cool.
off of Drew Barrymore's.
Tim Collins, thank you very much for your question. Got a couple more we can pull up here. From Ashley Day, would you consider remastering an adventure you didn't originally work on? And if so, which of your favorites, which one would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I would, like I was saying, I would love to do it as long as we could have a great interaction with the original creators and have them do, do you have any concept art on your hard drive? Like, get those assets they might have, their ideas for the commentary. That would be great. And I think, obviously a lot of the old LucasArts ones would be great to do, like Sam Max and Curse of Macau and Indiana Jones. But who knows? But as soon as you get rights there, I don't know. Does Harrison Ford have to approve that? I don't know.
Well, now you've got Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to work with too, right?
It's a lot of options. I don't think we ever made an adventure game with that one, though.
No.
But yeah, you're right. We could integrate skulls into it.
Fantastic movie like that.
And then, I mean, for other companies, I mean, I loved text adventures, but I don't know about remastering a text adventure. But I used to love all those Infocom games.
Be an odd challenge, right? Cool. Ashley Day, thank you so much for your question. Here we got one more, I think. Do you ever see a Full Throttle Brutal Legend crossover?
Interesting. How do you know they're not? I mean, one's basically a sequel. We haven't really covered that, but
Like a shared universe?
Yeah.
Tarantino, Brutal Legend and everything?
we did imply that Ben and Hoagie from Day of the Tentacle are brothers, because they make a joke about their mom thought it was funny to name them both after sandwiches. And his full name is Reuben. Small little fact, fun fact, just for the GameSpot stream.
That's the sandwich Easter egg of the day. Cool.
Don't tell anyone, you guys.
Cool.
It's just for you. I am wearing a Flame and Flood shirt I got from the Molasses Flood guys.
Oh, nice.
They're helping us out with Psychonauts.
Was it? I could be mistaken this. Did Scott Sinclair work on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to him a few times
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that and about other stuff he did back with Irrational. He used that Irrational back in the day.
Yeah, Bioshock.
Yep.
And they went and did Flame in the Flood, which is a really fun, really hard survival game.
Yeah.
And they helped us with our prototype for Psychonauts 2.
Oh, cool.
We did a video about it, and it looks beautiful. And I got a T-shirt out of it, so
Oh, nice. So here we have the live chats here. Sir Walrus Gaming on YouTube was asking topical question: is there any chance of you releasing any classics for the Switch?
I like the Switch a lot. I'm really deep in Zelda right now.
Yeah.
We're really focusing on these platforms right now for this project. We've got a lot of help from Sony to get them made. Probably wouldn't have happened without them.
Yeah.
So that's probably where they're gonna live.
Cool. And then Ruru Rook on Twitch was asking, what do you think of the potential for adventure games in VR? Between you just had Rhombus of Ruin.
Yeah, we
and
made
then
one.
worked on-
We didn't realize we were making one for a while. We were just, thinking about the interactions you could have in VR because we didn't want to move around a lot because you just get sick.
Yeah.
And I just noticed this desk has a big controller. I just spotted that.
Oh, from above.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You should have little trays where the buttons go. Sorry.
Analogs for coffee.
I apologize. I just noticed that just now, you guys. You can't even see that on the camera.
I just noticed the sandwich joke in that game, so I traded off.
So, what were we talking about?
VR.
So you realize that you're instead of pointing and click, you're kind of gazing and clicking because you're using your psychic powers. So Realms Ruin is on PSVR now, and after we finished, and we're like, we just made after Broken Age, I was like, okay, that's enough adventure games for a while because I remembered how hard they are to make. They're very, you put a lot of work into a specific interaction that the player might buzz through in 15 minutes, and you're like, oh my god, that took us months to make. Whereas another game might make a system, and then you explore that system for hours, but compared to, so, and then immediately we went to work on another adventure game, and we made Realms of Ruin, but it was really fun. It's still really fun because it was a more physical adventure. You could like TK use telekinesis to pick up that cup and move it and turn it around, and then put it in the right place to solve a puzzle, and then you burn something to solve a puzzle, and you use your psychic powers. So psychic powers are a great way to use. They're fun verbs to use in the VR world. So I think you could, I would do that again.
Cool. And then I think we can probably get one last question here. Kronos914 on the Twitch chat was asking.
They're comparing which of our arms are hairier.
Oh no, I think they were commenting on mine. I'm working on a tattoo, and they had to do this. I didn't think people would notice that on stream. I should wear long sleeve shirts.
No. It killed some valuable airtime.
Yeah.
Filled us with content.
Yeah, there we go.
We got a new one. It's going to be a surprise because it's a full throttle tattoo.
It is, yeah. It's going to be. Well, it's going to be.
Oh my God.
Brutal Legend on the other
It would
arm.
be cooler if you had it done for this. You were like, by the way.
Just like went last night for 12 hours to finish it. But yeah, my Day of the Tentacle tattoo is in work next year. So I'll get to work on that. But cool. We got Kronos914. The Twitch chat was asking, how is working on like creating puzzles in games different than it used to be, if it is? I mean, like, I don't know. Do you find audiences are more sophisticated in how they're solving puzzles?
I mean, in some ways, they're a lot more impatient. I think people don't. When you had one game that you'd play all summer long because you're stuck at your grandparents' house or whatever, like in the 90s, like you'd really milk a game for a long time, and you would expect it to take a long time, dedicate a lot of time to it. Yeah. And nowadays, there's so many games coming out every single day. It's like I gotta finish this in 3 days because like Horizon's coming out, or like something's, you gotta keep moving. So when people get stuck, they're just like, I'm not gonna waste my night on one puzzle, and they just like look it up on the internet right away. So you kind of have to work with that. In some ways, we just work with. We spent a lot more time on playtesting. So you watch people play the game over and over and over again. I was really impressed with Limbo. Playing Limbo, because every time I was just about to throw my controller in anger, like I couldn't solve a puzzle in Limbo, I would get it. I would just move on. I was like, oh my God, how did they know what I was thinking? That's crazy. And I met the guys from Playdead once. I asked them how they did that, and they're like, we just spent years watching people play the game and making small adjustments. Yeah. And I was like, you talk to the people? Like, no, we don't talk to them. We just bring them in and we watch them play. And then, so I think that's, because you can theoretically be like, this is a hard puzzle, this is an easy puzzle, I think they'll be stuck, I think they'll get it, and you can debate back and forth, like they'll get it because we put the sandwich there, obviously, and then you just put someone in front of it and they don't even see the sandwich, and you watch them, in a game with a cursor, you'll watch, like, you really want them to pick up the remote, and you'll watch the cursor move around the remote and go towards it and go over here, and they're like, just click on it, and they'll go over here. It's maddening, too, so then you put a spotlight on it, you test it again, and then you change one little thing, and you test it again, and that's what it's like nowadays to do.
Did you play Inside last year?
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, I think it was great. And then The Witness, speaking of games that just when I thought I couldn't solve a puzzle, usually, but also I sometimes didn't solve a puzzle.
Test.
Yeah. Cool. So I think it's all the time we have today. Tim Schafer, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for playing the game. Thanks for watching and asking questions in the chat, you guys.
Yeah, and Greg Rice from Double Fine is also back there. Thank you for playing the game, Greg. And for those who don't know, Full Throttle Remastered will be out on April 18th for PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, and PC. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
And we'll see you around. We got E3 coming up. I'm sure we'll hopefully run into you there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for playing, guys.
Yeah, see you guys later.
Thanks for having me. Wait, did you see that?